Welcome to another episode of Our Story So Far TV. I'm Garrett, aka New Angel, and I own a Dreamcast? Max Steel, Covert Missions. I bought this game knowing absolutely nothing about it other than the hilariously generic name and the fact that it wasn't expensive. You're going to learn in future episodes that this is a theme with me. If a used game has a cheap price on the sticker and looks corny, cheesy, or otherwise B-movie-esque, I have a hard time resisting it. The game itself was made by Treyarch. Yes, the same Treyarch now in charge of the Call of Duty Black Ops series of games. Max Steel, however, was long before that. A 2001 Dreamcast game, giving the company a chance to flex their action game developing skills after coming off a stint developing sports titles such as Olympic Hockey Nagano 98 and several triple-play baseball games, and porting some Tony Hawk games to Xbox and Dreamcast. It's a third-person action game involving a lot of hand-to-hand combat, some shooting mechanics, including a first-person feature that the game calls Sniper Mode, which can be activated by holding down both triggers. Once I customized the controls, I found the game's overall control to not be too bad. There are some things that might take some getting used to, but that was characteristic of games at the time. Things are a little more rigid than today's games. Climbing requires you to be in the right spot, picking up boxes requires you to be at the right angle, things like that. The complete inability to strafe makes the game difficult to control at times, leaving you at the mercy of an enemy. Although the Dreamcast controller only had one analog stick, this was a limitation that could have been overcome with some additional time and thought by the developers, as seen in games like Doom on the SNES and GoldenEye 007 on the Nintendo 64. Thanks to the lack of strafing, the fighting can be a little tricky. There's no good way to snap your attention to an enemy, making it tough to wind up in the right spot. Luckily, playing the game's default difficulty, most enemies can be taken out with one of the simple 4-hit combos, performed by pressing either the punch or kick buttons in pretty much any order, as long as you hit the bad guy 4 times. Shooting them typically leads to instantly taking them out. Throughout the game, you have access to nanotech powers. One is turbo, and going turbo seems to be a catchphrase they were going for. But contrary to the name, it doesn't speed you up, it just makes your attacks extra strong. Watch as I try to pull off a few combo attacks on this boss. Then try them again with turbo.
Going turbo!
The other N-Tech power is Stealth, which turns Max invisible for a few seconds, allowing you to slip by security cameras or get the drop on guards. Graphically, Max Steel Covert Missions is appealing. It wasn't the most detailed title at the time, but it harnessed the power of the Sega Dreamcast very well, showing off crisp visuals in the 3D models and very good texture details. I didn't experience a single collision detection failure or graphical glitch when I played, which was a hallmark of low-budget games, as some of the designers were still switching gears from 2D to 3D games. The music is of a high quality, although the songs are still very formulaic short loops, as though the game was struggling with memory limitations, even though a disc-based game in 2001 could have easily fit longer tracks with more than a few short loops. Sound effects, unfortunately, get repetitive fairly quickly, and the voice acting, well, individually the actors aren't terrible, but it's obvious that every take was separate and done without other actors in the room, making it extremely choppy. So what is Max Steel Covert Missions all about? The game has an intro cinematic, which left me with more questions than answers.
Nightmare's just beginning. Hey, kid.
If the Max probes have integrated with his organic systems, then the reason he's weakening is because the probes are literally starving to death.
Josh. Dad?
The Max probes need transphasic energy to survive.
When ready, bro.
Hang tough, hermano.
Josh McGrath can't run around the globe battling terrorists and still expect to lead a normal life.
Josh McGrath's out of the picture. The name's Max Steel.
Going turbo!
We're doing this the Max Steel way.
Well, that didn't help. What is this whole Josh McGrath's out of the picture thing, and why does Max Steel sound more like the bad guy here? Turning to the instruction manual doesn't help very much either. Who is Max Steel? Accidentally infused with N-Tech probes, Max Steel is a new breed of secret agent. The first technologically enhanced human being, Max Steel is capable of incredible acts of strength, speed, regeneration, and disguise. With help from Berto and the rest of his team, Max secretly battles the terrorist forces of Dread and his evil cyborg nemesis, Psycho. Jefferson Smith has been kidnapped by Dread agents. Max Steel is determined to rescue his surrogate father and is willing to use any means necessary. Max finds the kidnappers, overpowers them, and rescues Smith. But Dread had created a biological replica of Jefferson Smith, and Max rescued this corrupt version of the father he adores. The evil cartel not only holds the real Smith captive, but they've succeeded in infiltrating Max's inner circle with a malevolent imposter, and Max did most of the work for them. Now he's been ordered to do it again. The phony Smith assigned a mission to Max that will further Dread's evil plans. Can Max figure out the deception and turn things around? The manual doesn't even mention Josh McGrath, and when I started the game, another cutscene before the first mission showed some guy that Max Steel referred to as Dad. Continuing to play the game, this Jefferson Smith guy didn't get kidnapped until I'd already completed a lengthy intro mission. Well, it turns out that although I was still a teenager when this game was released on the Dreamcast, I had completely missed that Max Steel Covert Missions wasn't the only source of Max Steel information. Max Steel was created by Mattel, the toy company. They had created a tie-in television series and would later release more straight-to-DVD movies. The toy and TV series has been revamped a few times each, and there is, in fact, present day, a MaxSteel.com, where you can see the latest versions of the toys and even play new Max Steel adventure games on the internet. Yes, a toy, TV series, and a video game, all of which I had no idea existed. So, with that information in tow, I've come to find out that in this 2001 era of the Max Steel storyline, Josh McGrath was a kid who was somehow accidentally infused with N-Tech probes, a sort of nanotechnology which would transform him from the teenage blonde kid into dark-haired, suave super agent Max Steel. In the cartoon series, it was never very clear if his secret identity was well known or not, but the whole identity was sort of just done away with later in the series. It became all about Max and less about Josh. There were no Josh toys, and it served no other purpose than to make kids relate to the character a little bit more. The teenager-turned-hero trope was huge in the 1990s. Kids don't want to look up to a teenager who will just become someone else anyway. Why not just become the hero in your imagination? It all seemed like an effort to streamline the show, pack in more action. The Josh character was eventually just phased out altogether. But Max Steel is no Power Ranger. Frankly, in this game, he comes across as a bit of a narcissist and a jerk, disobeying orders and doing whatever he wants. Is that supposed to be part of his charm, that he's still as impetuous and impulsive as a teenager? It sounds like a risk to me. In that case, the Josh character is kind of important. And the instruction manual spoiling the story, starting a level into the game, ignoring the first mission altogether. Does the first mission have anything to do with building the rest of the story, or is it, for all intents and purposes, nothing more than a tutorial? Well, I already know more about Josh McGrath and Max Steel than I ever thought I would, but I still have to find out the answers to these questions. But I can't tell you, you'll have to find out for yourself, because this is our story so far. Thank you for watching another episode of Our Story So Far TV. If you've got a game that's driving you crazy and you want to know more about its universe and its origins, leave a comment, let me know. We're still getting this channel off the ground, so a like and a subscribe is always a big help. And don't forget, you can always interact with me on Twitter, @NewAngel, that's NUANGEL. We'll see you again in a couple of weeks for a new episode of Our Story So Far TV.